You're going to want to sell these cards before it's too late. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. So I want to talk about, I want to preface before we get too far into this video here. Now, things that I might miss on this video that might be worth moving right now are anything, since we're heading into, the end of the road for the competitive season here, even though I'm sure regionals are going to start back up here relatively soon, especially with the release of Infinite Forbidden here. It's just kind of, the season's just going to turn over very quickly here. But anything right now that has some sort of, decent amount of value might not be worth it tomorrow. But on that same equation, I know, wow, that's, if it's worth something today, it might be worth something, or worth nothing tomorrow. That's the most Yu-Gi-Oh thing ever. But there are a lot of deck cores right now, especially with how much Konami's reprinted, that if you're really getting into these penny stonks out here, some of these penny stonks aren't even worth moving. If a deck core now or staples are hitting $1, there's no reason to sell those cards because you're not going to get good value on these sorts of things. It's mainly, things that you look at that present some sort of equity or some sort of turnaround value. So I think it's very important to, go, well, hey, if a deck core's worth $20, it's probably not worth it to try to get, the 15 you're probably going to get out of it on the turnaround on the secondary market. It just isn't worth it. You're better off keeping these sorts of things for yourself. And I think it's one thing duelists have a hard time kind of understanding out here is, I'm going to go sell my deck core for this. But if it's not worth, more than like $5, $6 after all the reprints and things like that, just keep it, all right? Sometimes the hassle is not worth it. And that's an important thing to kind of gather. All right, so I want to start off with that. Now, let's go into the Snake Eyes cards. Now, if you're looking at Bonfires, Wanteds, and all this, you've already noticed how much value has been shaved off of this package. All right, and I'm going to tell you that it's going to get a whole lot worse out here. This deck, we have now passed enough time that this deck effectively has a very large target on its back. If you're going in to, the WCQ out here, and obviously, you've got two choices, right? You're like, I'm going to hold on to Snake Eyes, the Bonfires and things like that, or, you're choosing to play Bonfires and any of the Pyro decks that you enjoy. One, understand that, yes, we are probably a little bit further away from seeing Bonfire get a reprint. That's fine. All right, but the problem here is the Snake Eyes package itself, with those Wanteds, with that Diabellstar, with that Flamberge Dragon, those values are not going to hold what they are today in the near future. So if you're sitting here and you're like, oh, no, I've already watched a good chunk of Snake Eyes players that just kind of, I want to say, casually competitively played the deck. They'd go to locals every week and that was about it. And they had the deck and they were like, hey, this is the best thing that I want to play. That's fine. But you're reaching the end of the competitive season here. All right. And unless you expect to, watch this thing, fully fall off a bridge, that value is going to decrease. But we will have to wait and see. It's all of this stuff turns into a question of how soon will we see the immediate dip change in value in what, you're kind of expecting to see. But that's what happens with a tier 1 deck, especially, heading on into a ban list where it's about time we say goodbye to it. Next up is high rarity water cards. Now, this is the Atlantean Mermail stuff specifically, and I've mentioned this a couple times. So one major thing I want to talk about with this is you have to understand that we pass through windows of checks with things, and especially we're kind of in the nobody knows what's going to happen with this stuff phase, which means a lot of the investors looking around out here are looking at things going, hey, I want to pick up water in case, it does take off. And this is where we start clearing the checks of, willing to risk it for the biscuit. You could hold the water stuff to head on into the next cycle here, where maybe we do get the some sort of announcement from Merlantian stuff. But, you know, that also would kick up hype again. All right, so we're in the early check phase for this, which is like passing window 4. We know water hype does exist. It's been coming along. This next check is, you know, support does get announced. And then check 3 is support gets announced. It's good. You can sell stuff for maximum value, or the support sucks. And then you can't sell the stuff for anything. And then you lose a lot of that momentum. So that's why I'm mentioning this now as we're passing through that first check, you know, for understanding where to push these things off at what point. Because hype starting to gather is a good thing, but, you know, capitalization of hype, we've seen a lot of stuff in the initial hype phase be worth more than the actual, you know, release of said info for the possibility of it happening. But yeah, that's the current status of the Merlantian hype to start. Yubel stuff. Now this is very interesting, considering the fact that Nightmare Thrones are all over $40 a piece. You're seeing, you know, the Phantom of Yubel's hitting 60. I mean, the cards haven't out yet. You've got people out here paying this for pre-order. The reason I specifically mention this is if you are one of the people that's like, I don't want to spend the money for the Phantoms, but I've already got the field spells. I think you might be near the initial hype on the Yubel stuff. We're at the phase that the Phantom stuff has not hit the competitive play yet. And if that deck does not live up to its initial hype, we might see things bomb out a little bit. But I think the true test for this stuff comes from the Fiendsmith stuff, which is a month from release as of filming this. So that's another big thing to kind of consider out here is the passing of the check windows for the Fiendsmith stuff. Do you sell before the Fiendsmith hype, you know, or do you hold into the WCQ where you risk the deck maybe flopping competitively? I don't know. I would very much, I don't have an answer for that. The point here is to go, hey, these are the windows of opportunity worth looking at right now. We're coming off of the initial hype, the excitement, you know, it's all of the craziness, but, you know, we haven't had competitive application on our side of the game yet to test this, and then, you know, checking with the Fiendsmith stuff to decide, you know, is this going to be something splashable and exciting? We don't know yet, but you're heading into those windows. These are the opportunities that you gotta pay attention to and see what actually comes along the way. And SP Little Knight, if you think SP is going to hold $120, the closer you get to the tins, that's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you that 150%. One reprint is going to slash this card's value absolutely crazily, and people are going to be sitting here, they're going to be dumbfounded by this. They're going to be like, oh, you know, SP is going to hold $80. No, it is not. All right, you've got a big surprise coming your way. If you're sitting here, you know, looking at the secondary market, expecting, you know, the Secret Rare to hold that value, it's not going to happen. Even if it's a 400 card set, you know, that immediate loss of value is going to, you're going to be surprised. So the biggest thing I'm bringing up here with this is, you know, SP is a staple to a lot of decks. And that's something that you've got to make the decision of, are you fine with losing whatever value is going to get slashed off of this as we head on into reprint season here and we go, oops, all value. You know, the aggressive reprint policy is a good thing. And I will give them credit for that. But for all intents and purposes right now, this is a watch these cards. You know, these are the windows we're heading on into that you need to know, you know, the personal hype and at which points, you know, things will just kind of fall and plummet in value. So that is everything that I have for you today. I know the preface of values part of this video at the beginning was pretty important to understand. We'll have to wait and see. So leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. See your beautiful faces back here later, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.